Today we're going to talk about integers, absolute value, and the adding of integers. And you'll see that we're going to kind of go through this in a particular sequence, because once we learn what integers are, or actually just relearn what integers are, because this is something you studied last year, and then a refresher of what absolute value is, you'll understand the terminology of what we're going to be doing when we're finally adding integers. So here's what integers are. And by the way, when you use these videos, refer to them as often as you can. I'll generally keep these between 5 and 10 minutes long. So here's what integers are. Integers are the set of positive and negative numbers, not including fractions and decimals. Okay, so if you look at the number line, and what I've got on the number line are just to the right of 0 whole numbers, to the left of 0 negative numbers, but you'll notice that I don't have any little tick marks between the numbers. That means that this number line does not include fractions or decimals. Now you might recall that this little sideways 8 with the plus sign next to it, that just really means positive infinity, and that just means that my number line is continuing on to positive infinity. And that little sideways 8 with the negative sign next to it means negative infinity. So my number line will continue to negative infinity as we proceed to the left of 0. Okay, but here again is what integers are. They are the set of positive and negative integer numbers, not including fractions and decimals. Okay, this terminology will be important, and this sets the stage for the entire year for us. Okay, because we will be learning about different sets of numbers. This just happens to be one of them. We call this the set of integers. Alright, now with integers, we're going to move over to what absolute value is. And we're talking about what the absolute value of a number is. A number's distance from 0 is what a number's absolute value is. An absolute value is always positive. Okay, it is always positive because it's a distance. For instance, if we think about Chardon Middle School and we're facing Chardon Middle School from the street, we could say that anything to the right of Chardon Middle School is a positive number. Anything to the left of Chardon Middle School is a negative number if Chardon Middle School is 0 on the number line. But when we say that we're going to the left of Chardon Middle School, it doesn't mean that we're going a negative distance. We're just going to the left a certain distance. And distance is always positive. We wouldn't say that we're going to travel negative 3 houses to the left of Chardon Middle School. We'd say we're going to travel 3 houses to the left of Chardon Middle School. Same thing to the right. We wouldn't say we're going to go positive 3 houses to the right of Chardon Middle School. We just say we're going to go 3 houses to the right of Chardon Middle School. So absolute value is always positive. Okay. Now you'll see right here these bars on the outside of the integer 3. Those are the absolute value bars. And as I stated before, the absolute value of a number is always positive. So we would say that the absolute number of 3, or the distance that 3 is from 0 on the number line, is 3 units. The same could be said for negative 3. Negative 3 is 3 units from 0 on the number line, so we would say that the absolute value, those absolute value bars around negative 3, means we're finding the absolute value of negative 3, and that's 3 units. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my number line from earlier just to show you that I have highlighted the number 3 and the number negative 3 on the number line, and you can see that both numbers are 3 units from 0 on the number line. Okay, so for instance, let's say we wanted to compare the absolute value of negative 5 and the absolute value of 4. Okay, what do we mean by compare? Well, we mean which number is furthest from 0. Well, the number furthest from 0 is negative 5. So what we would say is that negative 5, or the absolute value of negative 5, is greater than the absolute value of positive 4, because it's 5 units from 0 on the number line, and the absolute value of 4 is only 4 units from 0 on the number line. Okay, and that leads us right into adding integers. Okay, so when we're adding integers, we're going to have to consider the different signs in the problem that we're trying to solve. So we're going to make it real easy. When the signs are the same, what we do is we add absolute values and keep the sign. Now, in this case, if we added -4 plus -5, if we add those absolute values, 4 and 5, we get 9. But since both numbers are negative to begin with, we keep the negative sign. Now, you've been adding positive integers since you were in first grade, so if we were to take 6 and add it to 3, we would get 9. But what we're really doing is we're adding the we're adding the absolute value of positive 6, which is 6, and the absolute value of positive 3, which is 3, and that gives us the number 9. And we keep the positive sign. No need to get too detailed on that because you've done that for a long, long time. Okay, but when the signs are different, we're going to subtract the absolute values and keep the sign from the number with the larger absolute value. Okay, I have a couple of examples here. First, what we've got is -8 plus 5. Now, -8 plus 5 is -3 because the absolute value of -8 minus the absolute value of positive 5 is positive 3. It's just like 8 minus 5, which is 3. But since -8 has the larger absolute value, we keep the sign in the answer as negative. Okay, here's my second example. I have 14 plus -9. Well, the answer 14 plus -9 is 5 because the absolute value of 14 is 14 minus the absolute value of 9, which is 9. 14 minus 9 is 5. Now, since the absolute value of 14 is larger than the absolute value of -9, we keep the sign positive in the answer. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I forgot the negative sign right there. So actually, we should be finding the absolute value of -9. So the absolute value of 14 minus the absolute value of -9 is positive 5. And again, the number with the larger absolute value, which is positive 14, tells us we keep the sign positive in the answer.